Go.
Hey.
Help.
It's free veg, James.
I've also eaten vegan sausage rolls. Have you eaten a vegan sausage roll? Hello everyone, it's me again. It's been a long time since I've done a video of any kind. I haven't done a list video for a while. I think the last one I did was 10 albums, and I would like to do another one. I don't want to jump straight into the weird shit like 10 waifus and 10 favourite sexual positions, so I wanted to keep it kind of milquetoast for now, and we're going to do what I'm calling 10 obvious movies. So, top 10 movies that I think everyone has seen. So, there's no surprises here as compared to my original 10 movies list, which you will find in the description. For now though, here are 10 obvious movies which I think are all 10 out of 10. I wouldn't change anything about them, otherwise they wouldn't be on this list. And if you haven't seen any of these, highly recommend that you watch each and every one that you haven't. Well, also, I'm getting used to a new microphone, so that intro probably sounded a little bit bad. Alright, well, enough for that waffle, let's begin. Yo, honourable mentions, yo! Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Scarface. Blade Runner. The Wizard of Oz. The original Star Wars trilogy.
I have felt it.
The Dark Knight. Number 10. Fight Club. Admittedly, I don't love this movie as much now as I did when I was a teenager. It's quite an edgy movie, and I'd just like to say right off the bat, do not be fooled by this movie's title. It may be called Fight Club, so you're probably picturing a bunch of sweaty men just getting down to business, but there's actually a lot more to it than that. The Fight Club itself plays a tiny role, so yeah, don't be fooled by that. Brad Pitt is actually a very good actor. He was, and still is, as is Edward Norton. He's an on-screen chameleon, and of course Helena Bonham Carter. All great actors in this movie. There's a massive twist towards the end, which is so special that even if you go on Fight Club music videos, the comment sections will specifically warn against spoiling it for people who haven't seen it. So I'm not going to do that. But I do highly recommend you watch Fight Club. The music by the Dusk Brothers is great. It's a very unique style. As I say, it's quite an edgy movie, but just try not to take it too seriously and just have a good time with it. Number 9. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. No, I'm not going to pick only one. Now, I personally prefer the extended versions of the movies, which clocks in at about, 11 and a half hours all in. So yeah, not so much movies as experiences, as I say quite often, but seriously, this is the case with the Lord of the Rings movies. The worlds are so fleshed out. There are entire university degrees dedicated to the works of Tolkien, and the movies, perfect, as with all the movies on this list. The soundtrack, which again is about, that's like 4 hours if not more, all perfect. Perfect casting. A lot of these actors never saw these heights ever again. So yeah, if you ever want to take a journey to Middle Earth, set a day aside and you will have the time of your life. And I honestly think these movies will change you for the better as a person. Number 8. Terminator 2. Does it get much more obvious than this? I think this is probably the best action movie ever made. It's one of the few movies where if I watch it one day, I'll immediately want to watch it the next day and no fucks will be given. It is just that good. The score, as always, is fantastic. It's full of iconic characters, iconic catchphrases. Now, some people, not many, but some people think the original Terminator is better. I think it's difficult to compare them. They've got the same characters, but they're very different movies. The first one's like a sci-fi horror kind of deal, and this is just balls to the wall action, and I love it. Yeah, I could watch it so many times. It's influenced so much. Like the Resident Evil, Mr. X would not exist without Terminator 2. That walk that Robert Patrick does is beyond iconic, and just the idea of a liquid Terminator, just genius. And I'll never tire of watching this movie. Ooh, number 7. Rocky. This is one of the greatest film series in history, in my opinion. The only ones that beat it by volume would be the Harry Potter movies, the James Bond movies, and I'm told the Marvel Cinematic Universe has overall a higher quality standard over more movies. But the Rocky franchise as a whole, including the Creed movies, are all phenomenal. Every single one of them, even the ones that people hate, like Rocky 5. It's got its moments, man. I owe this series a lot, especially the original, which is of course my favourite, and it's the only one that won an Oscar, by the way. I owe this movie series a lot. It's one of the catalysts that has encouraged me to finally start looking after myself and get in shape. I know that sounds really corny. Oh, Rocky changed my life, but in a way it did. That in, conjunction with many other things. But as for the movie itself, it's just a heartfelt sports drama. There's very little boxing in it, though, really, except at the end when your waiting pays off. It's just so inspiring, and it deserved that Oscar win. Go watch it if you haven't. The whole series, that is.
Number 6!
Gladiator. Now, if someone was to say to me, name a perfect movie, this would be one of the very first that came to mind. It's almost 3 hours long, if memory serves me right, but it does not feel that way. There's not a single boring moment in this movie. If it's not an intriguing talking dialogue scene, then it's an intense action scene, and so much is just packed into this movie that you wouldn't believe that it's as long as it is. The acting is phenomenal all across the board. Russell Crowe remains one of my favourite actors ever. Joaquin Phoenix in a role that inspired Joffrey from Game of Thrones. That really says it all, I would say. The music, perfect, especially the final 3 tracks, incredibly emotional. As for the content of the movie itself, it's all about honour, loyalty, respect, and I guess in a roundabout way it's about being a man, what it really means to be a man. I know you're not really supposed to say that nowadays because toxic masculinity and blah 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 blah, but fuck it. It is a movie about being a man, and it is amazing, and there's plenty there for women to enjoy too. Go watch it. Number 5. 12 Angry Men. Okay, this one is not so obvious, so here's what we'll do. If you take Forrest Gump from my original 10 movies list and swap it with 12 Angry Men here, then there you go, there's 10 obvious movies. Pretend this is Forrest Gump. But anyway, 12 Angry Men. No, it's not a gay porno. It's about 12 men in a jury room trying to decide the fate of a young man who has supposedly murdered his father. It's all set in one room. There are 2 scenes at the beginning and the end outside of the jury room. But apart from that, I guess in the jury bathroom as well, if you count that, I guess you could. But for the most part, it all takes place in one room, and I really like movies like that. Saw, that's another example. I really like movies that are contained like that, so I guess I'm kind of a play kind of guy. But yeah, this movie is all about compassion for your fellow man, while at the same time sticking true to the facts and not allowing yourself to get tangled up in your feelings. Very important. It tackles all sorts of issues, racism, poverty, all in this little discussion, and the acting, again, across the board, perfect. A masterclass. It's not that long a movie, and I think it's essential viewing. I really do. And I think you're incomplete as a person until you've seen this, and then you're a little bit closer to perfection. Oh, number 4. Toy Story, bitches. Yep, the original. They're all good. And most people think that Toy Story 2 is the best one. I humbly disagree, because I grew up with this movie when I first saw it when it came out, so I must have been, 4? When did it come out? 1995? So if that's the case, I saw it when I was 4. And I watched the crap out of it just throughout my childhood, and I still watch it to this day. And you know what? If you watch it now with the sense of humour of an adult, there's so many little hidden jokes in there, like Buzz Lightyear, for example. And like the entire movie, the entire script is quotable. Look, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Like, you can say any line from this movie to someone and they'll know what you're talking about instantly. Such is its pop culture impact. We all hated Buzz Lightyear as a kid, but then when we grow up we start to realise, actually, Woody's a bit of a dick. I just think the movie's so good. It's a bit dated by, modern animation standards, but watch the Blu-ray or the 4K version, you'll never notice the difference. All of the songs are timeless and everyone talks about it to this day, and just Toy Story, man, it's perfection. I also recommend watching it when you've had a little bit of the wacky backy, and then it becomes one of the funniest movies you've ever seen. It's just a masterpiece on every level. Number 3. Casino Royale. For my money, the best James Bond movie. I'm not going to say it's my favourite, but I think objectively it is the best. Every single action scene in this action movie could very well be the finale of any other action movie. The script is tight, and there's really lots of little James Bond turnarounds, like for example, shaken or stirred, do I look like I give a damn? If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Soundtrack, as always, on point. It was directed by Martin Campbell, who also directed GoldenEye, which I would say is one of my two favourite Bond movies. This guy successfully launched two separate Bonds, but Casino Royale, I think, is the best one of all. My friends disagree with me. They say, "Oh, you're crazy. Like, you grew up with Pierce Brosnan. Surely one of them should be your favourites," and it is. But I don't think my friends have seen Casino Royale recently, because this movie is just incredible. Like, you've got the free running scene with the founder of free running. Like, come on. That's just one example. It's got a car flips at one point, and at the time it was the world record for most car flips in a single take. Well, this movie is just jam-packed with incredible things, and Daniel Craig, I must admit, when it was first announced that he was going to play Bond, I was part of the website DanielCraigIsNotJamesBond.com, but as soon as I saw those first 2 minutes, I ate my words. This movie is amazing. Go and watch it. Number 2. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You may not have seen this movie, you probably have, but if you have not, I promise you have seen it parodied or ripped off in some fashion, somewhere down the line. This movie is just a perfect example of how you make a perfect movie. There's not a single thing I would change about it. Jack Nicholson is an absolute tour de force, as he usually is. He's retired from acting now, unfortunately. But this was one of his, maybe not breakout roles, but it's certainly one that put him firmly on the map forever. The story is unpredictable. That's what I like about it. You don't really know where it's going to go, and unless you've seen it parodied, which a lot of people probably have, thanks Simpsons, then you're not going to know how it ends. Brad Dourif, the voice of Chucky, is in it. Danny DeVito in an early role. You've got Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Like, man, they're all here. And Louise Fletcher as Nurse Ratched. Oh my god, what a villain. And the scariest thing about her is she could very easily exist. There probably are millions of Nurse Ratchets all around the world. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is a movie that will change your life if you haven't seen it. Go enjoy. So, having said all of that, what is the one obvious movie that I have not mentioned so far? The one obvious perfect movie? What could it possibly be? Could it be the one that's at the very top of IMDb? Let's find out, shall we? Number 1. The Shawshank Redemption. Does it really get any more obvious than this? Like, this is so obvious that so many people have seen this movie that I feel kind of guilty sitting here talking about it, wasting your time, because we've all heard all there is to hear about this movie. Although you might not know that the prison in this movie still exists and is now a tourist attraction in Ohio. I'd love to go one day. But for the 0.1% of human beings who have not watched The Shawshank Redemption, it's all about convicted murderer Andy Dufresne and his time in prison, where he meets Red, played by Morgan Freeman, the voice of movies. Did Andy Dufresne do it? Well, you'll have to watch and see. It's quite clear-cut, I think. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there, as there always are. This movie, I know I've said it already in this list, but if we're talking about movies that will change your life, this has to be it. Like, without question. It is the highest rated movie on IMDb for a reason, my friends, and it's crazy to think that when it came out it flopped. I think the generally accepted reason for that is because of its name, Shawshank Redemption. Apparently that's too difficult for Joe Public. But yeah, man, I'm going all reflective just thinking about this movie, because there's so much to unpack, which has been done a million times. It's incredibly emotional. There are lots of moral lessons in it. You know, don't always judge a book by its cover is probably the biggest one. There's a lot of biblical references in there as well if you're looking for them. And you know what? Like, to say any more would be, 1, to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, and 2, to bore the people who have seen it. Because when you've seen this movie, you don't just watch it once. Oh hell no. You'll watch this movie, I don't know, about 10 times throughout your life once you've seen it the first time. I promise you. And that is my list of 10 obvious movies which I love. Kind of in order, I suppose. I do hope to get back to content creation on a more regular basis soon, but I gotta lose this belly first, man. I mean, listen to this. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I love you all. Oh, and if you can think of any obvious movies that you love that I didn't mention, please comment away. I'm one of the few YouTubers who will actually reply to every comment and enjoy doing so. So please, knock yourself out, and I will see you very soon. Toodle pip.
Slow. Slow, folks, slow.